Shalom Aleichem, Tanya outside in Perek Yud Daled. So Perek 14, part 2. So we're up to page Kaf, um, which begins over there. So just as a quick recap from part A, we went through the famous, if you're in the world of Tanya, the famous monologue of the Benoni, who in the worst case scenario turned it on himself and said basically, um, look, I can do better than this. I'm more than this. I'm not going to get involved in this Avera. Just the most one of the most important things for me in that dialogue or that monologue is that he didn't go to um uh Irisa Oynish. He didn't say if I do this, I'm going to go to Gehenna. He didn't say that. He said, I'm better than this. I'm not worse than the lowest of the low. I'm not, it's very interesting how it's very, I speak to a lot of people about it, and most people can't get their head around this idea of, Yiras Ha'onish is not helpful. Everyone basically says in the worst case scenario, like it's the beginning, you know. But I personally don't think that anyone cares anymore. Basically, I don't think they believe in it enough for it to make a difference. From the people that I speak to, I've found basically no one cares about the concept of Oynesh, and even no one cares about Schar anymore. That's just how it appears to me. I know I personally it doesn't affect me. I think I've become too sophisticated to be scared by something that I've got no concept of. When just someone says, "Oh, it's going to be really, 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 really bad," yeah, show me some pictures, give me a video, at least get me a recording of someone going through it, then that will start to make a difference to me. We live in a world where it's so, do you know what I mean? You're so nothing is a mystery anymore. There's no such thing as a mystery. Like you see things all over the world all the time. You see crazy things the whole time. You know, so to hear, oh, it's just really, 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 really bad, or it's really, 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 really good, it just doesn't just I don't think it affects the Western mind, the modern Western mind anywhere near like it used to affect, the 200 years ago, Eastern European mind or whatever it was. Anyway, but that's I think qualified by the Alter Rebbe's monologue, where like I said, he gets involved in the Guyver of like I'm better than this. I'm not the lowest of the low. I'm not that, and I don't want to break my connection to the Bona Shalom. I don't want to be false. I'm more than that. I don't want to be false. That's not a holy thing to say, but it's getting a holy result, meaning it's enough to help him stay away from that Avera. That's the monologue of the Benoni. And then he explained that the the actual experience of the tzaddik who has pleasure from his love, like we've said before, love is not intrinsically pleasurable. You do not get pleasure from loving your children. You get pleasure from expressing that love with your children, being with them, buying them things, thinking about them. But the actual love itself is not pleasurable. Love is just an attraction towards. You love your children, you want to spend time with them, you want to help them, you want to give to them, you want to experience them, etc., etc. Yeah. So the pleasure in an emotion comes from the expression of the emotion. But there's an emotion called ava b'tanugim, which isn't really emotion. That is a love that is pleasurable, and that is for the tzaddikim. The tzaddikim have this love that is actually a pleasure. It's actually pleasurable, and that's what we're really plutzing for. Yeah, all of us, all these experiences that we're looking to have, is we're really looking to have pleasure from the love that we have from Hashem. And the Rebbe says that is really that is reserved, so to speak, for the tzaddikim. And that is in the hands of Hashem, whether or not you'll ever experience that. And don't count on the fact that you will ever experience that. Could very well be that you won't ever experience that, and that's okay because we're here to serve. We're not here for the pleasure. We're here to serve, and that's what answered up the Eov said at the beginning. He said that you created tzaddikim, you created rishoyim, and that doesn't make sense because Hashem didn't create tzaddikim and rishoyim how we understand it. Hashem created people, and then we choose whether we're going to be tzaddikim or rishoyim. But really, the world breaks down into two. Am Yisrael breaks down into two types: tzaddikim and rishoyim. Okay, the tzaddikim are the tzaddikim. The rishoyim are rishoyim, mamash, and beinonim. A beinoni is a rasha who acts like a tzaddik. The inner world of the Beinoni is identical to the inner world of the rasha. The difference is the Beinoni doesn't do an Avera. Why? Because of stuff, because of external things. Could be his Yiras Shamayim, could be he doesn't want to lose his connection to God. It could be he doesn't want to be lower than the lowest, like the Rebbe said before. So it's not because of an internal perfection that the Beinoni doesn't do an Avera. It's because of some kind of external stimuli. Shalom there. Some kind of external stimuli that stops him from doing the Avera. So internally, he is aligned with the reality of a rasha. So we could say in reality, there's two kinds of people in the world. There's Rishoyim and there's Tzaddikim. Within the Rishoyim, there are the Rishoyim who act like Rishoyim, and then there's the Rishoyim who act like Tzaddikim. That's called a Beinoni. A rasha who acts like a tzaddik is called a Beinoni. That's who we are. So our inner world is like that of a rasha, but that doesn't matter because we don't have ultimate control over that. We do have some control over that, but we don't have ultimate control of that. But what's really important is that the behavior is in line. And that's where we're holding. And that was basically Perek Yud Daled, the first part. Now the second part, we're gonna mention a few more things. This is a little bit stark, so enjoy. Okay, so it's page Kaf. The few lines down it says Uvazeh. V'zeh yuvan kofel loshen hashavua ti tzadik v'al ti rasha. And with this, we're going to understand the double expression where the Rebbe says you should be a tzaddik and not be a rasha. The lochoyer tamua, it's a pella. Why? Ki ma'achash mashbiin oisei ti tzaddik. That since he's already requested that you make a vow that you're a tzaddik, why do you need to make a second vow that you're not going to be a rasha? If you promise to go to your grandma's house, you don't need to promise that you're not going to not go to your grandma's house. Okay, you made a shavua to be a tzaddik. Why then do you go and make another shavua that you're not going to be a rasha? By the way, please note, as we've learned, yeah, the beginning to becoming alive are four words, yeah. The beginning to life is four words. The beginning of starting life is four words.
Making and keeping promise.
Yeah. How does the Tanya begin? Mashpiin oisoi. You take a vow. The whole Tanya is predicated on that. The first word of Tanya is Tanya. Mashpiin oisoi. You make a vow that you're not going to be a rasha, that you're going to be a tzaddik, that you're not going to be a rasha. The whole Tanya is predicated on that concept. Yeah, Ella, mishum she'ein kol adam zoicha liyos tzaddik. The reason why you make a shavua to be a tzaddik and not to be a rasha is because not every mensch is zoicha to be a tzaddik. ואין לאדם משפט הבחירה בזה כל כך לשענג על השם, באמס. And it's not within the purview of man, of most men's free will, kol kach, like not completely, but it is a little bit, to be misaneg on Hashem be'emes. What does it mean to be misaneg on Hashem? Because this answers up the beginning of the Mesilas Yesharim. Misaneg on Hashem. It says the whole purpose of reality is to be misaneg on Hashem. So I'll give you a really beautiful story. I've told you this story. The story when my daughter was ill and I was on my way to Shachris. Yeah, this is a beautiful um, illustration of what misaneg on somebody else is. That I was about to get in my car to go and do something that I wanted to do. My daughter calls me, she says, I'm not well. And Toich Kadei Dibor, I spin around and walk back home. That was me being misaneg on my daughter, meaning that her oineg, it was a natural thing. It wasn't me thinking, oh, I should probably go and be a good tatty and I'll go home and deal with her. It was she was pulsating through the veins. It was her oineg that was motivating me, that was animating me. It's amazing. Meaning that at that moment, it wasn't me thinking I should go and spend time with my daughter. My daughter's oineg, she wanted her tati to be with her, yeah? That overwhelmed my being, and there was no me. My agenda got dismantled, dissolved. My agenda dissolved, and I just about turned and walked back to my daughter. That's called being misaneg on your daughter, meaning her oineg, she wanted me, and my agenda completely fell away, and I walked back to her, meaning that it was her oineg motivating me, not my oineg. It was her oineg motivating me, not my oineg. That's called being misaneg al Hashem. That's the tzaddik, meaning that Hashem's oineg is your lifeblood. It's the chiyus in your veins. It's what's animating you. His oineg is what's animating you. Not that you're getting an oineg from serving him. That's also a very high level. That's amazing. But that's not absolute. That's not misaneg al Hashem. Misaneg al Hashem means that his oineg has displaced your oineg. And there is no you. There's just him. And we have those experiences with our children if we have, if we're in a good place. If we're in a good place and we have a robust relationship and a real relationship and we're worked out and our minds aren't like jelly like they are nowadays with most people, your mind going all over the place. Yeah, that's by the way the reason why the Rebbe says that Ala Roiv, we'll see in another few prokim, that every Jew, well, he doesn't say every Jew, he says the majority of Jews are prepared to give up their life for God when push comes to shove. He says the majority of Jews. Why is it not every Jew? Because it could be that someone's levusha machshava has become so activated that would even their thoughts, their thinking would override their most primal being. And I'll give you an example of this. Could you imagine? See, I told you this story about the guy jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, yeah? I told you this story? I'm sure I have. I definitely have, but whatever. We've said a lot of things over the years. That this guy decided to, firstly, there's the Golden Gate Bridge is about 30 stories high, yeah? And if you jump from that height and land in water, there's a 99% chance you're going to die. Yeah. So over the 2,000 people over the years that have tried to kill themselves off the Golden Gate Bridge, 20 of them lived. And the ones in this generation have got like a WhatsApp group, yeah. So, no, I'm not joking. So there's an interview with this guy on YouTube. You can find it very easily. Famous interview, and he's talking about, and he said that he's discussed this with all the other few people alive who lived to tell the tale what happened, and he said as he jumped off the bridge, he kind of leapfrogged over it. He said as his hands left the barrier, he immediately regretted it with a tremendous regret, and then had 3 seconds of deep tshuva until he went through the most excruciating pain he's ever been through. Yeah. What 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 uh he wanted to die so deeply before that for years and years. And then just as his hands leave the barrier, he all of a sudden wants to live. What happened? He wanted to die for years and now he wants to live. Because what happened was his desire to die was coming from thoughts of death and suicide. Now, don't get me wrong, there is such a situation where a person will be going through such pain, such physical pain, yeah, that he actually loses his will to live. But emotional pain that a person goes through is is much more subjective than physical pain, because emotional pain can be reframed. Physical pain can't be reframed, yeah. So emotional pain that makes somebody want to lose their life is almost exclusively predicated on thinking. The minute his thinking, the levusha machshava, got completely discontinued, it was like the clouds covering the sun. All the clouds are gone, and the sun, his will to live, is still there, vibrant and powerful. So he's hurtling down, and he's all of a sudden like, wow, I want to live, I want to live. Where were the thoughts about death? They've gone. That's why he wants to live. The only thing that made him think he wants to die is these thoughts. I want to die. But his will to live was still intact. You with me? So let me ask you a question. This generation, could you imagine somebody hurtling down into the what's the water underneath the Golden Gate Bridge? San Francisco Bay or something? Wherever it is, hurtling down to the water. Could you imagine somebody looking up and thinking, I hope someone's getting a video of this? Could you imagine someone thinking that? 100%. That's screwed up. Do you realize what that means? That never happened in the past. There was never that kind of thinking so powerful that when somebody's pointing a gun in the middle of your face, you could be having a thought about how many people will like this if they see your head get blown off. Do you realize how messed up that is? Until 30 years ago, 20 years ago, someone points a gun in your face, you're silent, dead silent. Only in this generation has there become such a craziness that somebody could do something there could be such an abject terror, but because the Levusha Machshava is so active, there isn't an inner silence. So I think that's what the Rebbe hinted at when he said Alaroiv, the majority of people. That's what I was saying. That's what the Rebbe said, Alaroiv, the majority of cases, meaning there was a miyat of people who wouldn't be able to give up their life. Why? Because of their thinking. But my hypothesis is that in this generation there'd be a lot more. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it would be Alaroiv that the Yidden would give up their life now. I don't know. I don't know. That's just my own hypothesis. But the point is that the the thinking is wait, why were we saying this? Mishpat b'chira b'zeh kol kach l'tzaneg l'Hashem be'emes. Why did we say? What were we saying about the thinking? I can't remember. I don't remember. But we were saying that the Indian of the zeh kol kach l'tzaneg l'Hashem be'emes she'eram mois mamash be'emes, that it's not within the person's bechira kol kach, like as in it's a little bit in his bechira to be misaneg al Hashem be'emes. I can't remember why we spoke about that when we went off, but hopefully it was worth something unto itself. Shishi ra most mamash be'emes, that the ra should be absolutely disgusting to him. That is not within our, for most of us, that is not within our bechira kol kach. Okay. Ulechein mashpiin shenis al tirasha al kol panim, that therefore we make another shavua that if you're not going to be a tzaddik, then at least don't be a rasha. That this is within our bechira, and reshus is given to every man. That a man can dominate and defend over his taiva, and to overcome his heart. That he shouldn't be a rasha afilu sha'achas, even for a moment, all of his days. Whether it means not doing averas or passing up mitzvahs, and the ultimate tov is Torah. And that's us doing. That means not being being mevatel's man, not being mevatel's man. When you've got a spare minute, you should be learning Torah. That's very important, and you should find out ways. You should devise ways to make that as easy as possible. Like the way that my method is. Like last year, I took on to learn Pirkei Avos 48 times. So I have my little Pirkei Avos in my pocket. And that meant whenever I had a free moment, I'd learn Pirkei Avos. This year I took on to learn Tanya 13 times. So I have my little Tanya in my pocket now. So whenever there's some time, I'm sitting there. If I'm not doing something productive, I'll learn Tanya, or at last I was learning Pirkei Avos. But to have a little thing like that, something that you can do without like breaking your head, like without it being too difficult, because then you'll actually do it. So Pirkei Avos is a great idea, or another small book in English, just to have that with you the whole time. That is a very, very holy thing to do. Okay. However, afal pichein saich leboilo itim gamkein, it says eitzes benafsho lihiyos moyes bera. However, now you have to, even though it's not within our power so much to actually be repulsed by Ra, even so, we have to work on it. Okay, how do we work on it? So we have to make times, fix times to well, he's going to say kagon be'etzes hachmeinuzal, like the advice of the chachamim. Yeah, isha chamas maled soya, like a woman is like a tin, some kind of vessel full of excrement. Not that we should be thinking of women in that way. In regards to the taiva, okay, ukai governor, and things like that. Meaning, don't look at the externalities. Look at what's going on. That taiva is an indulgence in filth, in self. So understand that. That's what it means, tsoya. That's the tsoya soya is a means to an end. Yeah. Well, so really isn't even a means to an end. It's like the ultimate means to an end, meaning it's really of no use. It's a byproduct. It's a waste. It's a waste product. That's what we're attaching ourselves to because we're really what is it? What's that taiva? That taiva for that oyster taiva, that taiva for niyah for immorality is an indulgence in yourself as an end. That's that is called soya. That is excrement. You mistaking yourself for an end unto yourself, that's a big mistake. Okay, Governor. וכן כל מיני מטעמים ומעדנים and all kinds of delicacies and treats and things. Na'asim kachamas male soya. You should see them as a clay full of excrement. V'chein kol tanug olam hazeh, and all of the tanugim of this world. Ahochem roes anoilad mehem shesofen leokov liyozrim v'ashba. That all of the pleasures of this world, the chochem sees what is going to be born from them. That the end is going to be filth and waste. V'haifech lisaneg lismoach b'Hashem, and so to the opposite. So the haifech lisaneg lismoach b'Hashem. So you should try your hardest to be misaneg and to have simcha in Hashem. Through his boinaness in the greatness of Hashem, which is basically what we do whenever we have Tanya Shir or whenever any things that we're learning. These are all his boinaness sessions, mamash, and you can think your own. Have your nowadays our brains aren't so into his boinaness, but by learning the right svarim, that is his boinaness. That is his boinaness. I find reading Rav Yoel Khan's svarim for me is like a huge oineg, like a real it's just amazing how he builds the ideas and gives you a real, real a real experience. According to your abilities, even though that you're not really getting to this level of genuine tanug in Hashem, that Hashem is your tanug gets replaced by his tanug. That's not true. But it's an imaginary thing, and that is worth something. You should do what you can do. And that is you fulfilling the mitzvah, the shavua that you made, that you're going to try and be a tzaddik, and Hashem will do what's fitting in his eyes. Whether he'll allow that to happen or not, that's up to him. This is a huge idea, is that your habit creates in you a second nature. And the more this is what we said so many times, is the more you behave in a certain way, you will start to become that. And he says that's called a second nature. And when you really try to accustom yourself to be disgusted by ra, by selfishness, by self-indulgence, it will start to become a little bit disgusting. And when you accustom yourself to be besimcha in your avodas Hashem, Hashem, through meditations and basically through davening shachris as well. However, you will from awakening from below become awakening from above. And I can tell you from my experience from taking shachris seriously. And I think you guys are also experiencing a little bit of those periods nowadays. That from taking shachris, investing the due, the time that shachris not demands, deserves, you end up actually having some kind of experience generally. And perhaps Yale alav ruach memarim. It will awaken upon you a ruach memarim, some kind of spirit from above. V'yizker lebechinas ruach meshoresh ezet sadik, and you will be zoicher. I had this one time. You'll be zoicher to a ruach which is a chelik of a soul of a tzaddik tis'aber boy, that will become connected to you, la'avoid Hashem b'simcha emitis, that will connect himself to you, that you will actually end up with a real geschmacka avoida in avodas Hashem. K'richsiv simchu tzaddikim b'Hashem, because it says that the tzaddikim, they are b'simcha in Hashem. This is kind boy be'emes hashavur shemashpiyim ti tzaddik. And in that case, then you really would have fulfilled your shavur that you said to be a tzaddik. So we'll finish on this, but I'll just tell you a little story. Is one time, it must have been about, is when my office was in the other place. It must have been maybe 7 or 8 years ago, yeah? When I was like in the thick of my wedding photography career, and all of a sudden, I used to daven in Shimon Tzadik, and I used still to take my avoda quite seriously. And I just remember one time I was driving. It lasted for about 3 or 4 days, where I couldn't look at a woman, and I was like on fire on my avodas Hashem. I was mamash on fire, to the point where I had a wedding coming up, like it was a few days as I was having this experience. I think it was like 5 or 6 days later, I had a wedding coming up, and I just didn't know what I was going to do. I had not, like, I didn't talk to him about it because it was just so weird. But I was like, in my mind, I was like, I can't take pictures of women. I just won't be able to do that. I don't, and it was just very, very strange. So for like, it was about 3 or 4 days, I had this insane, like, I was like that in my avoda, and I was like, there was no avodas. It was like I was very, very holy for like 3 or 4 days. And then I remember it went away. And I remember when it went away, and I ended up going and doing something that I hadn't done for years, an avera that I hadn't done for years. Yeah. And I felt, and it was like crazy, because a few hours before that, I couldn't look at a woman. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at something I shouldn't be looking at bichlal. And then it was gone. That's back to normal. So I figured that's what he was talking about over here. That it was that some kind of very righteous neshama chat me for a few days, and then when it left, I like went I mamash had a complete shvira, a complete fall. I fell completely, and then I went back to normal. So I'm not that's what I always tell that story when I get to this part of the Tanya. I don't know if that's just my guess that's what happened. Anyway, okay, that's chapter 14. We'll get next week is Hanukkah, isn't it? So we won't have a share next week. For me, maybe we'll be in touch. We'll stay connected. Okay, shkoyach.